I'm not in the government sector, but I am very passionate about leadership. And I want to ask, I admire your president because I think he's such a great leader. And I think I'm not surprised to see that in you. My question is, how often do you meet with him? I feel like I'm actually speaking to the president. I'm not joking.
Sorry, could we get that on camera?
Thank you. You interpreted the dream of the president or his vision as a leader, and that is so important.
I think our philosophy, and you'll often hear this, is really driven primarily by our leadership. So even when you're asking what is it that makes things move, first and foremost, it's leadership. And I'm not saying that because I'm a government official and therefore I want to keep my job. But if you don't have the right leader with the right vision, the right direction, then you have already failed at the starting point, right? When we look at this country's post-genocide direction and what we've been able to achieve, a lot of it is coming from the president, the cabinet ministers, security officials in terms of what are the priorities that we need to put first and foremost. And so that visionary leadership about what Rwanda can be, and clearly articulating it and clearly outlining it to everybody.
So what we're about to do now is something I consider as one of the most important parts of the learning intensive. Do you agree? Yes. But do you even know what we are doing?
They're lying.
All right, yeah. So over the past few days, many of you have had the chance to go around Kigali. You've moved in awe, in admiration. You've also moved with curiosity. Some of you have had to reflect on a number of issues. Are these real? Why can't we have it in our countries? And that's why we are here today. To move beyond all of that emotion and also to diagnose deeper. To say, you both are Rwandese. What's the magic? What's the seed? Can you give us some seeds to go back and plant in our countries? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited to be joined by two amazing people whom you can already see. I would be reading their profiles quickly. Our first panelist is Mr. Antoine Kajangwe. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
Thanks, Daniel. So he's the permanent secretary at Rwanda's Ministry of Trade and Industry, where he oversees the country's trade and industrial development agenda. He previously served as Director General in charge of trade and investment and has worked across government, development, and policy institutions, including Global Communities Rwanda and the Imbuto Foundation. Antoine holds a degree in history from Oklahoma Christian University and a master's in international political economy from London School of Economics and Political Science. If your hands are not too busy. Thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
And to our own. Esperance is a gender equality and social inclusion specialist whose work across Rwanda, Liberia, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh has focused on inclusive economic systems, resilience, and rebuilding communities in complex environments. We're excited to learn from both her professional and personal leadership journey. And most importantly, I'm happy to say that she's a 2026 Elevate Africa Fellowship. All right, let me take my seat. Am I permitted? I am Abigail Anazamak. I think I'll stop there. So my first question would go to Antoine. I like that name, so I know you said Tony, yes, but I'll keep saying Antoine till
no problem.
It sticks. So Rwanda has been seen as Africa's development experiment that feels successful so far, with all of the amazing things that has happened. I don't want to bore the audience, they already do know. But beyond the data, beyond all of the GDP rise in the last 2 decades, all of the things that people from other continents, that have been able to develop to attract people from other continents. We see everything, but it looks like there's something deeper beneath the surface that we need to understand. The philosophy that is guiding all of this development. What is it in your own perspective?
So, good afternoon again, fellows. Antoine, there we go. Since you want to use that name, it's very acceptable. It's very allowed. I find it's, especially for Anglophones, it's easier to use Tony, but you're doing such an amazing job, so Antoine is fine. It's a French name, actually, similar to Antonio or Anthony in English. So it's a pleasure, really, to join you all here today and to speak on, Rwanda's journey in all of what it encompasses. I think our philosophy, and you'll often hear this, is really driven and primarily by our leadership. So even when you're asking what is it that makes things move, first and foremost, it's leadership. And I'm not saying that because I'm a government official and therefore I want to keep my job. But honestly speaking, if you don't have the right leader with the right vision, the right direction, then you have already failed at the starting point, right? When we look at this country's post-genocide direction and what we've been able to achieve, a lot of it is coming from the president, the cabinet ministers, security officials in terms of what are the priorities that we need to put first and foremost. And so that visionary leadership about what Rwanda can be, and clearly articulating it and clearly outlining it to everybody, from the citizen that is illiterate, that has challenges and issues in the village, to cabinet ministers and media and civil society. There is clarity about what we're trying to achieve. And so as leaders, I think that's obviously for me something that I try to communicate even within my own ministry, but it starts really at the highest level, communicating a very coherent vision for the country. And obviously you've heard of Vision 2020, you've heard of Vision 2050, our medium plan strategies, whether that's National Strategy for Transformation and the likes. But in a nutshell, I think it all starts from a clear and visionary leader.
Thank you so much. Yes, you've ended it well. And what's one word I can use to describe everything you said, or two words, is clarity of vision. That's three. Clarity of vision. And I would pose this to everybody seated in the room to think, to probe, to ask deeper questions. If they can even name the vision of their own country, then maybe we are going in a direction. But if not, maybe there's something to take back home and to go and chew with other people in your country. Now you mentioned, I'm still with you.
Sure.
You mentioned, interestingly, the 2020 vision and also Vision 2050, and you achieved Vision 2020. That's really laudable. I was listening to a conversation last week and the person said, most African countries, I'm beginning to hear Vision 2080. It's like we keep giving ourselves praise. We had 20, we didn't achieve it, then we are pushing to 80, 50, then now it's 80. And it's quite laudable that we are in a city that achieved their Vision 2020. We see the drone corridors. We see Urugendo that is into shape narratives. I would want to ask, all of these were not possible alone as, this is a vision and it was achieved. It required cohesive work across academia, research, industry, government. How do you think that the Rwandan government was able to pull all of these collaborations across different parastatals to achieve your Vision 2020 and your goal towards 2050?
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to that clarity of vision. And do we all understand the same thing that we're trying to achieve? So it sounds simple, fundamentally, right? Just a clear vision, you write it on a document, and therefore you should be able to achieve this. But it also, I think, starts with internalizing it at an institutional level, first at a personal level and then also at an institutional level, to make sure that we're all, in Kinyarwanda we say, gusigasira umurongo umwe, right? We're all going by the same track, by the same path. And again, that comes to clarity of vision. What are we trying to achieve as a country? And that's where you see government policies are very well understood by practitioners, by consumers of those policies. Civil society, even in terms of what they do, it's also very much clear about how do they support that vision, or how do they contribute to that vision. Media, same thing. Private sector, it's the same thing. So across government, even citizens to some extent, right, is also understanding. A very good example is our current situation with the Iran and US conflict, and the very tough policy measures that we have to put as a government, increase fuel prices and things like that. And when you look at the reaction from citizens, it's, yeah, this hurts, you know, it's painful to our pockets, it's difficult to implement, but we understand, because obviously the policy has been well articulated, what we're trying to achieve has been well articulated. And so we find that really having, again, I can't emphasize this enough, just clarity of that leadership. What are you trying to achieve as a country? Long term, but even, you know, in shorter term, 5-year to 1-year plans. I think that really helps to move everybody together and achieve something tangible and lasting.
Thank you. I'll still come back to you. I feel like,
you know, Emehas is here as well. I know you guys.
I'll come back to you. Thank you so much. I took away from that, ensuring policies are very well understood at even the individual level. Yeah, so everybody can know how they can contribute to it. So Esperance, he talked about the war in Iran at the moment and how it's affecting economies across the world.
Yeah.
And you've worked in different contexts, similar contexts in Bangladesh, in Afghanistan, in Liberia, and also in Rwanda. There's that similar case of recovery from something, right? So in your own experience so far, what would you say is important or for nations across Nigeria, pardon me, nations across Africa,
Okay.
to bear in mind as fundamental to rebuilding systems, to rebuilding institutions? And when we look at Rwanda's story, for example, it's beyond just the economic prosperity. We've seen that trust is something that is fundamental to the cohesion that is in Rwanda. So over to you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm a product of Vision 2020. So yeah, thank you. Yeah. During the genocide, I guess the Tutsi 1994, I was 16 towards 17. Then after the genocide, so I mean, before the genocide, I was born and raised in Rwanda. So what I know, I would complete my primary school, go to the secondary. I had, I was sure that I'm going because I was brilliant in a class. Maybe, I say sure, but never sure because it wasn't that straight. And that's the farthest I could go. I never saw someone in my family, on my father's side and my mother's side going to the university. So then after the genocide in 1994, I came to complete my secondary school. And guess what? I got a scholarship, to go to the university, now University of Rwanda. So what happened is I started learning about the EDPRS, which is Economic Development for Poverty Reduction Strategy, EDPRS. So that one, I used, wow, what does it mean, And then there is this former president of African Development Bank, Donald Kaberuka. He's the one who influenced even my choices at the university to do the undergraduate studies in finance. So then I kept reading about that strategy, etc. Then I came fond of development. So now why do I share this story is I could go to the university because of Vision 2020. Rwanda to rebuild, first of all, they it puts its people first. The Human Development Index was so low, education, health, etc. So to reconstruct Rwanda, they put us as population first, getting scholarships, bringing some international lecturers to teach us, study towards etc. So I felt so much empowered to move forward. Second, the institutions, as the PS mentioned, so they focus on that, the vision, the strategy for poverty reduction, and then being accountable and communicating to us, the population, and then building all these local governance so that the people, they can understand, and then we hold also accountable the local authorities. So that's how I grew up, seeing, experiencing, and I even got the confidence to step out and go work abroad. So the first time I stepped in Liberia at the airport, oh yeah, it's like, okay, did I make? I mean, I don't need to. I don't mean to attack or criticize the country, but I was like, okay, so I see the difference. I saw the difference right on the spot. Then driving through Monrovia, the country after 13 years of civil war and people trying to recover, so I could sense the gap, the leadership, the people, and are they on their own. Then I later went to Bangladesh. The Bangladesh was in Cox's Bazar, which is a tourist area of the country, but I couldn't bear with the sewage, the smell, etc. And I was like, okay, I remember Kigali in 1994, the sewage, the smell, the smell down there, the dumping of the waste, the plastics, etc. Now look at here we are, the Rwanda clean, plastic banned, and all this kind of development. So what Afghanistan is also another story, which is too much far behind, especially when you ban a 50%, even more of the population, so you can't move anywhere. So then to wrap up this is, for this growth development, if you don't put people first, you're doing it's not even a half, you're doing almost nothing. So the people have to belong, participate, contribute, feel like they are part of this post crisis. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking us through all of those journeys and the transformations that you were able to compare, or the lack of transformation you're able to now compare with your own country. That's really amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. And putting people first. I think that's
Yeah.
the strong thing to take out of it. Putting people first. Is your country putting you first? Let me hide my face. No, I'll face you both. We are going back home and we are going to establish that front. Well, officially, my president is putting me first. All right, back to you, FAMSEC. Vision 2050 is before us. The Rwanda we want, prosperity and high quality of life for all Rwandans. I wanted to probe further earlier, but I said I was going to come back, and she shed a bit of light on what it really means to put people first. I want you to take that a bit further. You are in the Ministry of Trade and Industry. If we look back in 10 years again, that would be 2036, towards Vision 2050. How would you say what are you doing now to ensure that you would have made significant contribution to that? Sure. I think that's the secret sauce I'm still looking for.
Yeah. So very good question. When she said put citizen first, the RPF, which is the party that's in power, their slogan during the elections, these recent elections, was "Umuturage kwisonga." So citizen first was literally the mantra. Even in government, you'll often hear people say, or even on Twitter, we have a very active citizenry on Twitter that holds leaders accountable. And so, the thing is always, what happened to the slogan "Muturage kwisonga"? So we hold that very, very closely. But in 2036, so we've broken down our 2050 vision into two, 2035 and 2050, right? In terms of what metrics we want to achieve. So let me share what are the targets or what we want to see and how that should be reflected, in an everyday person. First, we have a very ambitious GDP per capita, right? So when we say, by 2050, we want to have achieved higher income status. By 2035, we want to have achieved upper, lower, middle income status. Upper, lower, middle income status. Right now, our GDP per capita is, and forgive the technical terms, but it's important to contextualize. Our GDP per capita is $1,150 per person per year. By 2035, it's supposed to be $4,000 per person per year. So that's a 3-time increase over the next 10 years, right? Or 4 times. My math is off at the moment. So that's practically what we want to see happen. Now, what comes with that GDP per capita? It means that you have more disposable income. You should be able to afford a place to stay, and a place that is dignified, that has electricity, that has water. Our target for water and electricity, actually by 2030, is for universal access, right? So you should have running water, you should have consistent and persistent electricity supply. You should live in a suitable, low-cost housing. It shouldn't be a slum. You should be able to access the very basic healthcare that you deserve. Already we have universal healthcare across the country. It's called Mutuelle de Santé. But the ambition is to continuously increase the quality of the quality of infrastructure. So the hospitals themselves should be up to standard, but so should the service. And also the types of treatments that we can provide in country, right? So at the moment, we have maybe 3-4 different hospitals that are currently under construction. We have some that are specialized in cardiovascular support, some that are general. There's a hospital here. I'm trying to see where I am at the moment. I think it's on the right side, just when you continue towards Serena Hotel. It was our largest teaching hospital, and it's now moving slightly outside of the city of Kigali, towards the outskirts, in a much larger and more modern type of facility. Again, to give that impetus to health services that need to be there. So from an economic standpoint, you should be able to afford your daily sustenance, right? And really the very basic. When we say basic, it's water, electricity, food. You should be able to have shelter that's good. But $4,000 doesn't come from the government, so it has to come from somewhere. And that's what primarily I'm responsible for, which is, myself and others, which is trade and industry. Where do you find the jobs? Where do you create the jobs? Where and how? And so our primary focus at the ministry is industrialization. So how do you industrialize a country that is small, landlocked, with no natural resources? I'll throw that to you guys, and you guys can give me some great ideas. But there's obviously a plan in place, and what we're doing to follow up, from heavy industries to light industries to services. Right? Rwanda is landlocked, no natural resources, small population, skills development that is still catching up with the rest of the world and Africa at that. So even diversifying our economic base to say, okay, let's focus on things that don't require access to the port or don't require natural resources. And so that's where even the strategy of MICE came in. Meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. We invested in the Kigali Convention Center to be able to attract a lot of international business. We invested in an airline, we've invested in an airport. Again, a lot of it going to say, how do we ensure that we can create jobs, dignified, well-paying, productive jobs for as many Rwandans as possible, again, to achieve that upper middle income status. And then everything should come from that, right? Then you should be able to provide those social services that, as a government, we have to provide. And then you also provide the governance that's required, accountability in public management, accountability for leaders. In 2035, we don't want, people saying, Tony's corrupt, or, Tony doesn't respond to a Twitter feed or whatever. So
Don't you respond to Twitter feed?
we do. If you tag me, I will respond.
To some of us.
Yeah, but don't ask me for my handle. So that's that in a nutshell what we're trying to see in 2035. But it's really a country that is modern, that is productive, that is ambitious, that continues to punch above its weight. You'll always hear that. Rwanda punches above its weight. Never quite understand what that means, because we're just trying to do the very best that we can do, right? It's almost a backhanded compliment. It's, you shouldn't be doing this, but good job for you to be able to do that.
Thank you.
So, but the ambition is that, we should actually inspire development and inspire our citizens and the rest of the world to say, what, it's possible to achieve this level of development. You're able to provide these level of services to your citizens.
Thank you so much. I'm really impressed by most of the things I've heard, and we're looking forward to 2035. Maybe another set of Elevate Africa Fellows will be hosted here by then.
Karibu.
And we'll look back to say, we asked this question, you said this, and this is where we are. Thank you. So my next question goes to both of you, but I want Esperance to go first. And that's to speak on the balance between urgency. Many African countries are in a state of urgency for different development needs, and sometimes they sacrifice that on the altar of trying to be sustainable. So how do we meet those needs? How do leaders in the room balance urgency of development with the patience that is required to build those structures? Because 1994 is just here. I was not born then, but it's just here. Yeah, so Esperance, you can go first.
Yeah, thank you so much. The balance between the urgency for development and aligning also with building the structures. So of course I'll come back to the people's first. So the urgency, we need the roads, hospitals, those infrastructures. So are you sure, are they creating jobs and sustainable jobs, dignifying and fulfilling jobs? And who is getting those jobs? So we have women, we have men, we have girls, we have boys, so we have educated society, semi-literate and unskilled. So how are you balancing? We have rural areas, we have cities. So how are they, that kind of sharing or the income, spreading distribution, is it happening equally? So for the case of Rwanda, of course, the urgency was here, as we said, and as we learned at the memorial. So many millions of Tutsi were killed, among them skilled doctors, professors, lecturers, nurses, our teachers, many categories of the people, even those unskilled, but they were the force of a country. So the Rwanda invested in the people's development when developing infrastructures. As I said, as a product of 2020, at the university we didn't have those enough national qualified. So there was a kind of a swap program where most of my lecturers were coming from India. When some graduate of my university was sent to India for further studies. They came back with the masters, the PhDs, etc. So that kind of agency, but also developing the people. And then our country started something, I can call it no handouts, but we started something we call it a VUP. This is the Village Umuganda program, which is a cash for work program. What I said, in rural areas, they also needed to move forward. So where you go and do some works and then you are paid daily. Another thing was our country tried many models where the population now, they were classified according to their social class. Where those needs the government handouts, those who need a mix of handouts and cash for work, those who needs to be supported through TVET, etc. And then the skilled, class that were also now taking up leadership roles and the strategic positions in the decision-making positions. So the agency was there. Of course, the infrastructure. Hospitals were destroyed, roads, bridges burned, many things happened. So all those kind of infrastructures needed were also packed in that EDPRS that I mentioned. Fast forward, we are now we're not no longer talking about economic recovery. Now we are into economic transformation. Now our guiding strategic document is NST, National Strategy for Transformation, which is now phase 2. Now that is into transformation. So I was going to switch to French. So it means it was based on leave no one behind, so the rural areas catered for the young people, the skilled community, etc. Mr. PS, they were asking me, but permanent secretary is so young. I said, yeah, that's my country. Yeah, you should also, you should also see our Minister of ICT. Yeah, I'm a fan of her for real. She's so young and, leading the digital economy of our country. So this, then we have at the local governance going up. So these leaders coming together, putting the ideas together. So what Africa can learn from us, it's possible. The agency is there, but leave no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Leave no one behind. Let me go back to Nigeria. Pressure tea. Wow.
That doesn't mean.
There's a lot of pressure.
Too much energy. There's a lot. There are 55 countries in Africa.
One Africa, please. One Africa. Thank you. So yes, you can answer the question. Just shed more light if you have something.
Sure. I won't go very far from what she said. Our president challenged us one time. You've heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So he challenged us. He's like, why must you choose one or the other? We want to go fast and we want to go far. And so that's also a mantra that we use very often, is to say we want to go fast and we want to go very far, especially because 32 years ago, the genocide against the Tutsi happened. The aftermath, there was no country, there was no nation. So to be where we are today was starting from scratch. Now, how do you balance between the urgency of going fast against the reality of resources and everything, and also just the time that it takes things to happen? Allow me to just share a bit of our country's development agendas, right? You've heard NST2, EDPRS, and so on. The immediate priority after the genocide in '94 was peace and security. That was one. Peace and security. So there was a need to ensure territorial sovereignty, that the insurgency could be ended, and that the war that the fragments of the war could be concluded, right? So we're talking about from 94 to about the 2000s. There was the very grim reality that there was 1 million Tutsis that had been murdered senselessly. So there was a need to actually address that problem head on in terms of the victims that were perpetrated, the burials that had to happen in a dignified way, and then the juxtaposed against the perpetrators, hundreds of thousands of people who had murdered and killed their neighbors and family and friends, and so justice needed to be delivered. From a governance standpoint, obviously, there was how do you nation build again after all of that? Economically, there was nothing. GDP, I think, had collapsed, more than 500%. So there was a lot that needed to happen. In fact, I don't even think we had a development agenda at that point. It was just a matter of saying, how do we ensure that we can raise our head above water and survive, right? And so by 2000, there was something. There was a foundation where you could even start to think about the future. We were living in the moment, addressing things in the moment. You might ask, Tony, how old were you in all of this? Right? Obviously, you follow the development agenda of the country, so my age is not important. And then 2003 is when, so between 2000 and 2003, there was a transitional government. The first elections, post-genocide election, took place in 2003. So 2003 to 2010, we had our first 7-year development agenda, which was the EDPRS, Economic Development for Poverty Reduction Strategy. And its priority was very simple. Reduce poverty to whatever extent possible. Address the infrastructure gaps and all of this. Second, from 2010 to 2017 was the EDPRS 2. Its objective was also very much poverty reduction, right? And everything that is related to that. 2017 to 2024, we had our NST1 strategy, National Strategy for Transformation. And then today we're in our second National Strategy for Transformation. So I lay this out because in each of those 7-year and now 5-year development agendas, it's about prioritizing key objectives. What do you want to achieve that is as clear and concise as possible, right? And knowing where do you need to put your resources as much as possible. Obviously, post-genocide reconstruction, we're not going to put money in industrialization as much as there might have been, because the priority at that time was very different. Where we needed to spend was very different. So the urgency was about ensuring that there is peace, security, and a return to some level of normalcy, and you deal with the issue of justice and social cohesion and things like that. Today, the urgency is on structural transformation. So a lot of resources are being put into economic development programs, the airport, the airline, industrialization, infrastructure, health services, and ensuring that you can upgrade that. So I think the development programs have helped us to be focused, to say, yes, we have 2050, which is a far off objective that we want to achieve. But then to go fast, we also have to be very focused and targeted and say, look, in these 5 years, we're going to focus on this. Can we build on that? And then you stack progress over time. And, down the line, you find, you've achieved whatever success you've achieved. And so that's how I think we've managed to balance. There are so many priorities. So if you try to do everything all at once, you might find that you're not doing anything as effectively as you need to.
So if I hear you correctly, the whole nation, there are different ministries, Ministry of Health, your own ministry, Ministry of Education. There was just one funder. Development was phased, and everybody knew this is the priority for now. That's not to say we are leaving the other areas.
Yeah.
And then at some point, we are done with that and we reprioritize again. I hear vision. I hear a sense of possibility. I hear policies that back them. I hear people who are also willing, who have been sold the vision, who bought it, and who are committed to it. Thank you so much for sharing. I am nearing the end of this conversation before I open the floor to our eager fellows to ask their burning questions. I can feel the pulse. Please keep it cool.
I was told they're very intense questions.
Yeah.
Go easy on us.
Yeah, I want to just go into your personal lives on how you've been able to hold things up. Coming from that journey, seeing all of this change, what runs through your mind? What do you see? Yeah. How do you hold yourself together? There are times where you still have flashbacks and all of that. And people may not have experienced what you have experienced when their personal businesses, their tension times, they're different. Sadan was saying he has experienced betrayal before, and he told us how deep that went. Yeah. So people have experienced different things. But in all of this, how have you been able to hold yourself together and still keep pushing for the common good of everybody? Okay, let her go since you went last.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. In the aftermath of the genocide, against the Tutsi 1994, I was a girl child. I mean, I was supposed to be a girl child. I was supposed to be, but yeah, I had to grow fast and look after my siblings, including even my big sisters. So yeah, for me, I felt kind of the value. Now it's my country. I'm here. As I said, I was between 17 and 18. So at 18 years old, I was able to stand in the court to get the power of attorney, to get my family, my parents' assets, to get them kind of, register them properly and then leverage on them so that, we can survive on the rent, etc. So that kind of, so peace and security. I felt it, and then no one stopped me because I was a girl child. So the things you read about Rwanda, about women in leadership positions, it didn't start when they set the quota of minimum 30%. So Rwanda, or just, in the aftermath, stood on 2 feet, like, women, men, girls and boys. You were here, you are Rwandans, you deserve this, you have the rights, that kept me going. So, and I tried even to go back to school. So then, I registered again, and then I went back to school. I told my siblings, you guys, ABCD schools, you can try. So yeah, we went back to the secondary, I completed, and then I got the scholarship. I moved forward. And then maybe it's a story, I never shared it publicly. So I was a girl child, minding what do we eat, so many things, like, managing household. So then I met a very handsome, tall man, and in the process, I got pregnant, and I was still in the secondary. So I was afraid to go back to school. So guess what? I sent my big sister to go to my school. I tried to change the school. They refused because I was in senior 6, and then I sent back my sister to the school to ask if I can go back when I'm being pregnant. She went there. They said, "Okay, what are you talking about? Why do you even ask that question? Tell her to come back." So I went back to school. Of course, the button couldn't hold. But the school I believed in myself. I went. I don't know, the confidence I had that time. I wish I have it even now today. So completed the. I wrote my final exam with a 6 months toddler. And then I got the second best marks countrywide. That's the system that believes in you, that doesn't exclude you, etc. So now I built on that. I kept being inspired on about what is going around, learning about these programs, what's in there for you. And then I focused on my studies and all the inspiration. So that's how I could stand on my feet. Of course, the support system, can you imagine? The first support system was the government. But because the family, some people, still, weak, some are still processing, some lost their self-esteem, and then there is government that is like, yeah, everything is open, you can go to school, come back. You have one, if you don't have someone to talk to, there is a support system. All those kind of things that supported me, like a girl child. Yeah, and some others like me. So I know I influenced many around me. So that's how things happened. Thank you. I hope I got
Yeah, a strong support system help that hold it together from the government. Yeah.
No, that's an incredible story.
Thank you.
I think it speaks to her character and her growth, and I think for me, it shows again the resilience of Rwandans. And I'm not saying that to pat ourselves on the shoulder or anything. Everybody in post-genocide Rwanda was affected by the genocide, one way or another. Everybody. I was 4 years old when I returned to Rwanda. My parents, yeah, now you know my age. I was obviously, the genocide happened in '94, but it was planned and prepared long before, right? And so, like many other Rwandans, we were refugees for a long time in Burundi, and then in Uganda, and Kenya, and elsewhere. And so when we came back, obviously I was very young, but one of my vivid memories is came back on the 21st of July, 1994. Remember that date because it was also my birthday. So for anybody who's thinking, and you're driving down the road, and the war had ended 3 weeks before. No cleanup, no nothing. Bodies on the streets. Dogs are still eating, cadavers and human remains. So the smell. So you remember these things in fragments, right? So you can't, and that's me who's 4 coming from abroad. So you can't think of the millions that have survived, right? That have stayed there. And even to some extent, you even think about those who've committed or who didn't commit genocide, but watched, didn't do anything. And so how do you rebuild a country at a human level of so many different people and personalities and experiences and background? And so at some point, when we say leadership is truly, everything, it's having a leader who was visionary enough to say, you know what, with everything that this country has gone through, we have to live and we have to develop and build a country and do something. That's the generation that was alive. But for those who weren't even alive in 1994, they have PTSD. They have, I don't know the medical term, but the trauma that has been transferred trauma. So, intergenerational trauma. Today, during our commemoration week, we have commemoration events at the stadium and other events, and you'll see a kid of 15, 16, 20, 25, and they break out, right? They cry, they scream. And you're like, but what happened? And you realize that, that trauma has been transferred to them one way or another. So I'm not saying it's, it's more to give context about where we are today and what we've all had to endure to build the country, as Esperance said. Today, obviously, there's how do you manage that post-traumatic trauma, but there's also other traumas that happen in society. So teenage pregnancy is one that she's highlighted. And how do you continue to bring those people into society and encourage them and convince them and support them to feel like productive members of society, right? Because if there's anything the genocide taught us is every life counts, every life matters, right? And so there's no senselessness in a human being. Everybody can contribute in their capacity, whatever that might be. And it's ensuring that people feel it and people see it. And nobody is better than another, right? So we've removed altogether identity cards from our national IDs. Part of that to also demonstrate, look, at the end of the day, you're Rwandan, you're valued by the country. Service of government needs to serve everybody. And I think for me, when obviously my experience is very different. Grew up as a refugee, came back, moved back abroad. So I've moved around a lot. I was called a third cultural kid for a long time, for those who know the term. My Kinyarwanda, when I speak it, people can hear it and judge me. Not Esperance, right? But at least, but I've made an effort to develop it and to make it. So, everybody has different path that they've taken, but it's that impact that we've all felt one way or another, and also just the vision that this is all of our country and we all have something to aspire for. And I think that's really ingrained from the elders all the way down to a young kid who's just starting primary or something.
Thank you. You made a statement. Yes, you can clap. This is our country, and I want us to go further from this is our country to this is our continent. There are 20 fellows in the room, and aside Esperance, 20 are seated across the room, and they are going back to their countries. And this is the Africa that we have. What hope do you have for the future? What mindset should they carry forward from this conversation with you as they go back?
Africa has so much potential, but we have to get our act right. We have so much potential, so much to do. And obviously, I'm a political economy professional, so there's this term, beggar thy neighbor, right? You always want to do something that doesn't benefit your neighbor for economic or political reasons. But I think at the end of the day, every country has something to contribute and to give for the development of their own country and for the continent. So I think it's really about African integration. I was fortunate to also work on the AFCFTA, African Continental Free Trade Area. And so you see the promise, at least at an economic level, of what we can achieve in trading together, in industrializing, and in sharing skills and resources. But then you look at the Sahel, and there's a lot of war still going on, and so there's really a need to focus on what matters, and really aspire to collaborate and to work together. But I think the promise for Africa is huge. In East Africa, I don't know if there's Kenyans or, of course, there had to be Kenyans, Ugandans, Tanzanians, Burundians. I think there's East Africa, obviously, is termed the most integrated region on the continent. And I think for good measure, there's been greater trade and collaboration in East Africa. And so how do you deepen our trade and collaboration, but also expand it across the various other regions?
Please still hold your mic. Thank you. Yes, I want to probe a bit into the AFCFTA. You said we need to focus on what matters. And I look at the 4 major languages in Rwanda. Here, Rwanda is strong. In the spirit of inter-African trade, you were colonized by the Germans, by the Belgians, and maybe some English, some French, but here Rwanda is still major. And I don't know if there's anybody in the room who maybe has had challenges interacting with the locals in English. Anybody?
I've been with the people, and it's been a little challenging, but we
Yes. So yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Get why. So that's the why I want to get. And I'm not saying you should change that, but what's the mindset that went into let's still make here Rwanda the major language?
Yeah.
In light of AFCFTA.
No, absolutely. Actually, I'm surprised you haven't faced even more challenges. Because when you look on, there are probably, language barrier challenges. Yeah. It's not to say that we prioritize Kinyarwanda more than any other language, right? We very much recognize that you have to be able to speak an international language, a language of business. So that's why there's been a lot of emphasis to also make English a national language supported. By the way, Rwanda before 2008 was purely francophone, right? Purely francophone country. So the fact that there is even people speaking English as expansively as there is, but that's not an excuse. I think it's more of a capacity issue. It's more of a time issue. Obviously, there was a lot of francophone speakers. English was never a language of commerce or business or instruction or anything. So you're literally starting from scratch. So English proficiency is something that we're still working on. But at the same time, there's an element of being proud in your national language and culture and values. And so, we put a lot of emphasis on also people knowing their language. I mean, I'm a very good example of that, right? As I said, my Kinyarwanda was not the best, but it's come very far. I still speak it with an accent, but at least you can understand. And I showed up, right? And I speak it, and I regardless of my mistakes, I still speak through it. And I think it's true for other languages as well, making sure that you can speak French, you can speak English. For those who can, speak Swahili. But I think we're very cognizant of you need a language, a language to be able to communicate with our neighbors, but also we need to have our national language that we're proud of and that we can communicate.
And the beautiful thing is, in spite of all of that, your GDP has been growing over 7% in the last 20 years. Yeah. So, brilliant. We celebrate your ownership of your language regardless of all of the languages. So Esperance, what do you want your colleagues to leave with? He has left you with something with them, but what do you want them to leave with? Are we leaving already? Yeah, we are coming to you after now.
Yeah. It's difficult and not a difficult one as well. So of course I shared my story, which is not, I'm not the only one. We are so many. What I can say is when we say inclusive development, let's mean it. Inclusive of gender, disability, and diversity. For example, we're talking about, by the way, Mr. PS, you can confirm. Rwanda also is also wants to also include the sign language as another official language. So to make this inclusion in a proper way, So because you can't talk about the inclusion when you leave some, they say people with disabilities, they can't access a place like this, nor can they can't communicate with. By the way, I bring this back because I didn't mention in my work of the social inclusion, and so we ensure that even the people with the disabilities, they can communicate, they can access as we do, and then we mean it. So to wrap up this, when you think about inclusion, inclusive program, inclusive project you're working on, remember all this kind of diversity. The young boy or girls, men and women, they're not homogeneous. They also have different categories, people with the disabilities. Some are shy because of their culture or their background, or they're oppressive within their families. A married woman who is facing gender-based violence, she can't have the same confidence as you, who is using your voice, who is included. So make sure that you in creative industries, storytelling, filmmaking, health, everywhere. So think about inclusion in its all forms. So people are so homogeneous. If we want to impact the lives, think about all those categories. And this is also the history of Rwanda and its development journey. If I talk about disability inclusion, I can take much more time. Now my country is really keen to that. Remember that people with the disabilities are people like us. Include them in your programs as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a strong wake-up call there. So we'll be opening the floor now for questions. You can raise your hands. I'll take note, and the mic is with me, so I'm going to pick.
Wow.
My name is Winnie. I'm from the great land of Kenya. Yes. And one of the conversations we'll be having is we can't develop without money, right? Finance. So I'm very curious to understand, because you've talked about this developmental growth plans. How did you fund all the plans? And are you experiencing any debt? Is there any formula you have that is different from many of the countries here in Africa? I'm very curious to learn. Thank you.
Sure.
Good
question.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you very much for this presentation. Very, very nice. So
Name
my
and
question is
country.
directed to Mr. Antoine. My name is Yamal. I am from the Republic of Mauritius. My question is, it's even here from across Africa, one class. We've been talking about a recurring theme about Pan-Africanism. This has been a big highlight for us this week. You've talked about, obviously, the developmental pathways that you've had within Rwanda. I wanted, from the point of view of industry and trade, maybe what's the plan that Rwanda is seeking out for exhibiting and executing on Pan-Africanism? Maybe one or two concrete sort of measures to inspire us so that we can go back and also think about how we can play a part in that.
Okay, and Yasmin.
I'm Yasmin. I'm similar to you. I'm a daughter of refugee, so I've lived in America most of my life. From Eritrea, visiting it for the first time after 25 years after I leave Kigali. So super stoked about that. My question is sort of the talent pipeline. So as I mentioned, I've been on the streets talking to folks. I worked in the media in an executive position. The talent here is immaculate across film, TV, creator economy, athletes. I did see that a few months ago there were talks to bring maybe potentially Rock Nation or these major Western European agencies here. I'm wondering, is there opportunities to actually have the current Rwandans learn the business piece so the intellectual property stays here without losing too much percentage?
Okay,
Great.
that's the first step.
Okay. We're not joking about the tough questions. All right. Very tough questions. Winnie, karibu. It's good to see you. My Swahili is kidogo. But I think, and obviously, we all face the same foundational challenges of public management, right? A lot of our development was initially funded by aid and grants, especially post-genocide reconstruction. Whatever, I don't have the exact figures, but World Bank funding I think was in excess of $1 billion or $4 billion over 10 years or something like that, right? So aid, grants were very big in terms of financing development, and then we slowly moved away to developing a very robust tax base. Because also recognizing that you cannot rely on foreign aid to drive your development. So one of the, I think, efficiency, and I'll come back in terms of what we can export, is also just having a very strong tax administration system that you can use to collect resources. Now, that was done over time, and there's still progress and a lot of development towards that. But there was also recognition that you have to go to the international market. So we borrowed from the Eurobond. We've done 2 listings on the Eurobond. And this has also coincided with the fact that aid is decreasing and has been decreasing over the last 5-7 years, really. Percentage of aid to our government revenue, our government budget is less than 2% now, right? So it's decreased significantly. Yeah, that poses its own challenges, but in a way, it also helps you become more resilient, right? Because you have to find your own ways of doing things. And then it's also been about how can you borrow from, yes, the international market, but also through local treasury bills and treasury bonds, right? Yeah, borrowing domestically. And then underpinning all of that is the right debt management and debt sustainability measures. Today, our debt to GDP ratio is close to 73%, which is very high. We're not in debt distress, so IMF, World Bank will always say, you know, as high as it is, it's a risk, but it's not an alarming risk, partly because most of our debt is concessional, so very low interest rate, very long tenors, and also just our debt management system, so low levels of corruption, public accounting, accountability, that also matters. So you can't borrow and then pocket it, right? That becomes a challenge itself. I'm not placing that on anybody or any country. I'm just saying.
But we call them
One Africa, please. One Africa, please.
Yeah. No, it's just. Moving on. Yuval's question, good question. What are we trying to propose? I wouldn't say. I'll be honest with you guys because you're very mature and very smart people. Our policy has never been to impose or expose or, there's also a connotation of arrogance in trying to say, you should do this because it's worked for us. Absolutely not. We're happy to share our experience, but it's not on us to tell you, you should do this because it worked for us, right? But having said that, I think there's key lessons that people can borrow from Rwanda. One, it's homegrown solutions. I think we always prescribe, or we always feel like we need to be prescribed policy tools by by global institutions, especially Bretton Woods institutions. But if you look at Rwanda's greatest success, as I mentioned, one of our greatest challenges after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi was how do you ensure wide-scale justice, right? And you've heard of Gacaca courts, right? I won't go into it. I mean, the amount of vitriol we received for even suggesting that as a possible policy tool was incredible, right? But today, that was a homegrown Rwandan solution that essentially helped us turn the page, and everything has continued. So there's many more, VUP, Giringa, Umuganda. There's so many, right? And we are very intentional about developing those at a national level. What can we learn from our history, from our culture, from our value system that we can? So I think every country has its way of having resolved issues at a national level, pre-colonization. And I think reverting to that, modernizing it, making it fit for the modern era, for modern institutions, I think can help a lot. Right? And then second, I think is, again, feeling that we deserve a seat on the table. Oftentimes people say, it's Africa, maybe, what do they have to share? Regardless, right? You need to be on that table. Our president always says, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. So, there we go. Daniel said the same thing.
Yeah.
So, it's a pretty universal quote, and I think it's very true. You need to be on the table, and everything that goes with preparation, articulation, and also the confidence to feel and know that you deserve to be on the table.
Sure.
So I think that's a very important thing as Africans. We need to have that confidence that we need to be there. From a talent perspective, they do. A lot of initially, when we started the MICE program, you used to import everything from equipment to technicians, sound engineers, everything that's related to organizing a conference. Today, not so much. Today, and it goes back to creating those productive and decent jobs, is that, you created a whole sector. Initially, it's difficult. Initially, you don't have the skills. But over time, you're able to then invest in the youth, and people are able to see the opportunity and invest for themselves. And so what we do as government is to ensure that there's an enabling environment, access to capital, access to training. And so you also have a lot of partnerships with like the Rock Foundation to do trainings at a local level, and even letting people be exposed to those opportunities. The thing that kills us oftentimes is exposure or lack thereof, to even know that these things can happen, they happen like this, and being able to take advantage of it. So I think it's happening, could be done more, it could be expanded on, but certainly, MICE is a very good example.
All right, thank you so much. So for the next set of questions, we'll be meeting you together. So we'll take all 6 because he needs to go. And please go straight to the point. No sugarcoating. So Gigi, and then Kalfina, and we continue.
Okay, thank you. Again, it's a high honor. We've seen your picture even before you came
Gigi
in.
from
Liberia,
Liberia.
the home of the brave.
Yes.
We've seen your picture, and we were joking before you came in about how youthful you are. And some of us had the privilege to serve for our countries, me and Her Excellency. And we were both very young, in our late 20s, when we both were appointed, me during President Obama's time, and was privileged to serve our people. How does it work as far as the Rwandan system? Because you were only a few years when the genocide happened, and you were able to serve at the highest level. But you have some people that were, much older during that time, and I'm sure still in President Kagame's leadership. How do you see that dynamic mixture of young and old, and how does that contribute to some of what I'll call your secret sauce? Because we see an intersection between government, private sector, civil society, NGO, and donors, to where you guys have been able to really be an example of how to officially run a country and move it from recovery to now transformation. So that's the question.
Kalfina, thank you.
So, he stole my question.
So good for us, right? We should move on.
Just to add on it though, I'm Kankidan from Ethiopia, and our experience has been we have a new leadership in place. He's relatively young, in his early 40s. So what he did experiment is to balance it, gender and the youth. 5 years down the line, we find a lot of the youth, including myself, actually breaking down and getting out of the public sector. So, sharing your experience, how did the Rwanda become so successful with having the youth leadership, would be motivating for both me and Gigi to come back to the public sector.
Brilliant, thank you.
That's a tall order for me, huh?
Good afternoon, thank you. My name is Chris, I'm from Nigeria. My question is political and leadership. So, we have a vision 2050. Kagame will be 100 years by that time. And I'm just wondering, what structure do you have to ensure there's no new president with a new 2080, 2035, 2036? What is the African problem? Yeah, exactly. New people come with different policies. Is there like an institution or some sort of structure that holds the next person in line? What do you guys do if you've done anything?
Yeah.
And secondly, what plans do you have for people like us that want to come in here and do stuff? Do you want us to come in here?
Do you need to leave?
Exactly. In the first place. Yes, stay.
Stay.
All right, Sisanda.
You can ship your things.
Yes, my name is Sisanda Henna. I'm from a place called Azania, but that name is yet to come. Now they know it as South Africa.
Please go on.
Sonia.
It's a bit linked to his. Thank you so much.
Is that the breakaway region?
It's this fellowship we are in there.
You're thinking about
South
the
Africa.
future. Okay, from South Africa.
Disruptive.
Arrested on his way back.
Thank you so much. There are two. So the word permanent secretary was quite new to see it.
Yes.
Permanent secretary. We don't know that. I think because there's such a revolving door in our leadership. Ministers change, presidents change, etc. If you could briefly maybe imagine every 5 years, leadership had changed here. What would have things been like?
That's good. Yeah, that was a major conversation we were having.
And maybe give some practical examples about what could have done or couldn't have been done. And I think even I call Nigeria our cousin country.
This one.
Yeah. With the biggest GDP, etc. This is my kind of second question, but just cleanliness and safety are just basic things that bring the dignity. In a podcast I watched, someone compared civil liberty juxtaposed with control and rules. And sometimes if you pull away the rules, you have more civil liberty. But if you bring the discipline and the rules, then there can be the order. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Okay, Emmanuel.
Oh, man. Okay.
And then
You were very diplomatic in your question. I know what you're trying to ask. It's okay. It's good. I'll answer it.
Faster so that you can answer.
All right, I'll try to keep it short. First of all, I want to say you're a great leader.
Name
My name is
and-
Emmanuel Ikubesi. I'm from Nigeria.
Thank you.
You're a great leader. I say that because all of us, we're leaders here, right? And every time I listen to you speak, I'm not in the government sector, but I am very passionate about leadership. And I want to ask, I admire your president because I think he's such a great leader. And I think I'm not surprised to see that in you. My question is, how often do you meet with him? I feel like I'm actually speaking to the president. I'm not
Sorry, could we get that on camera?
You literally interpreted the dream of the president or his vision as a leader, and that is so important. And I say that because I'm also I'm a founder, I'm a CEO of my own company, a media company, and a lot of the times I have to be in a room before I know that I can secure a deal. If I ask someone who works for me, or manager who represents me or something, I'm always panicking because I feel like they wouldn't have the same heart that I have to share my visions or my dream. But man, I feel like I'm not saying it to flatter you, sir. I mean, a lot of them know me. I don't flatter. So how do you do it? Do you guys meet regularly? Does he does he pour himself inside just all of you? I don't know. What is it? Because you guys seem to be so alike.
over to Amanda, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, PS. I often see PSs as the
Sorry,
implementers.
Amanda from?
Amanda from Botswana. I often see PSs as the implementers of the high-level conversations that are happening between our presidents, and I know that we just hosted your president in our country last week, so it's a very recent trip. And I know the main things were around trade and they were around conversations in your portfolio. So I'm wondering, how do we make sure that those conversations don't end there and they continue to actually be implemented by people like you who are actually in the right seat to implement. I saw that there was conversations about diamonds. I'd love to see a situation where like we are trading in those spaces, and I'm pretty sure Rwanda would love convening power, and you guys have mastered it here. So I'm sure those conversations were happening. But where do we move it from that to now actually being actioned? It's a selfish question because I'm actually curious to know what happens after your president's visit.
Is that it? Representing him very well.
I was going to say.
Well, very tough questions again. I'm like, geez, don't know if we have enough time. We might need to push our next meeting, Daniela. just let them know ahead of time.
Thank you.
Tell us sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you. So, young and old, and how do we balance that? Very intentionally. We have one of our most popular beauty pageant winner, Miss Rwanda. Yeah, one of our more popular ones from 2017.
Yeah, Miss Jolie.
Miss Jolie. She obviously she was a beauty pageant winner, and she's moved. See, I'm still young. I can talk about these things, and she's moved to now, doing a lot of other things. But one of her main, I would say, programs, initiatives was intergenerational dialogue. Right? How do you ensure that the old and the young can speak about policy together? Policy on anything, right? This is my view on trade as somebody who's worked in it for 50 years. This is my view on trade as somebody who's worked on it for 2 years. What's the middle ground? What are the issues that I see? Where's the issue? Obviously, there's other weighty issues. Again, nation building, right? There's how the older generation viewed the country today. And then there's the reality of, if somebody is 20 and has grown up without even understanding the concept of an identity card with your tribe written on it, it's very different from somebody who saw it. So those dialogues have to happen, and very intentionally, because there's also the understanding that you have to be able to transfer power. You have to be able to ensure that there's continuity of governance. And and I'll come back to this because I think Sika and others asked this question. So it's very intentional, but there's also a practical and I think maybe even selfish reason. Is if we want to go fast and we want to go far, you need young people right? to drive that and to push. We're just more energetic. We want to do things faster. So at some point, I think there was also that reality that if you really want to move things, you need to bring young people into government, but you also need the patient and cautious and wisdom of experience. Right, and so being able to balance those two things. And if you look at our cabinet ministers, I imagine I don't sit in cabinet, but you can imagine those who are sitting around the table, right? You have somebody who has storied experience of having fought in the war and having been in government up until today. Then you have somebody who's just graduated. I think our youngest minister was appointed when he was 30. Was our Minister of Sports, Minister of State for Sport.
Yeah. You're not the youngest.
No, I'm not a minister. Yeah, Permanent Secretary. So, yeah, and you have even younger PSs than me. I wasn't even that old. So that's very intentional, and it's done purposefully to say, one, there has to be eventually a transfer, but also we need people who are ready to work and to put in their effort and their time. And you make mistakes and you learn and you're given the opportunity to correct to a certain point. So I think that's also how you maintain that leadership. You just need to be able to give the opportunity to make mistakes and to buy into the vision. And I'll come back to Chris's point as well. I think you know, we have this saying. Sorry, Emmanuel. On Twitter, you'll always see this thing, Generation PK. Have you seen it?
Yeah, no, Team PK.
Team PK, right? And all of it is to say, look, you know, there's this crop of young people who are just so enamored by our leader, right? Just how you respect and love him is just as much as we do, right? So you hang on his every word, you listen to his speeches, you try to live by that example and the lessons that he bestows. Now, you can only do that though if you truly believe in that vision. You can only believe in that vision if you feel that it's coming from the right place and that it's actually being done for you. So I think the reason, and it won't just be me, right? Even Esperance and many others. If you talk to them, you can actually feel that, you know, they buy into that vision because they know that, you know, the president is actually, you know, we're Team PK, right? Like we believe in his love and intention for the youth, and he has a very distinct appreciation for young people, right? He's constantly meeting with young people through forums and events, and all of his speeches are, you know, sprinkled with lessons to young people. So he's very intentional about it. Obviously, I'm fortunate to work in government, so there's also other events where you're able to meet with him, listen to his speech. I have the added hat of implementing government policy, so I have to know what I'm doing. Otherwise, I don't have a job, and I'm not so permanent after all. But I think even the term permanent secretary, it's an East African title, right? Primarily, or even in Nigeria. Okay, yeah.
They're just older men.
Yeah. So yeah, I think interestingly, I think the Kenyans solved it. They call their PSS principal secretary, right? Same with Malawi as well, right? So I think maybe we need to follow suit because our jobs are not so permanent. So Sika's question, and the reason I was joking with him is obviously this question always comes up, you know, with fellows, with discussing with fellow Africans about democracy versus authoritarian, right? I'll say it how it is, right?
We call it benevolent dictatorship.
Or benevolent dictatorship, or, you know, totalitarian, however you want to call it, right? We recognize that is the perception out there. I think there's a value and a benefit to continuity of leadership. I obviously studied political economy and history, so, you know, I read a lot and I follow a lot of historical events and progress of countries. If you look at almost every country that has developed, and I was looking, there was a YouTube video that I watched recently, and it was comparing some of the greatest leaders of the last half century, and there was Lee Kuan Yew, there was Park of South Korea, there was not Mao Zedong, but the one who followed him in China.
The guy from Singapore,
Yeah.
you mentioned the guy from Singapore?
Lee Kuan Yew, and there was another guy, and then our president. And it was so funny to see him included in that list of leaders. Because obviously, they even mentioned it in the video, they're like, he's the only one still serving, right? All of the others have died or they've left office. But I think, and this is our belief, is we wouldn't be where we are today without President Kagame. Simple as that, right? Yes, there's a benefit for continuity of leadership, especially after a traumatic, you know, experience as what we went through. You needed a strong leader to be able to bring back discipline, to be able to provide a vision that we could all rally behind. Now, I think the real test for us, and I don't know if this was a separate question or the same, but the real test is going to be what happens when he retires. And it's a matter of time, right? We recognize that he has often said it. He wants to retire. He wants to play with his grandkids. And I think as a country we also recognize that it will have to happen. Now, how do you ensure that continuity does not affect policies and progress? And I think it's going to be on all of us, public sector, private sector, citizens, all of us, to ensure that we have a very clear image of where we want to go and what we want to achieve as a country and how we go about doing that. I won't prescribe what will happen, but I think the foundation that he's been able to instill across government and even within the citizenry is very strong, right? To actually acknowledge and say we are one country, we're one people, we speak one language, luckily, and ultimately what we've achieved, we cannot destroy. We even have a song around it, and so on and so forth. So I hope that has answered your question. It's a question we get asked all the time. I would expect nothing less. Amanda's question, what happens after the signing? It's a very good question, because this boils down obviously to my job. Interestingly, I worked on the MOU that was signed, at least the trade and investment MOU that was signed. It's a general cooperation MOU, speaks on how we can cooperate closer within, again, the context and the framework of the AFCFTA, recognizing that we already have market access. So, if you're in Botswana, you manufacture something in Botswana, you want to sell it to Rwanda, you should be able to do so. I think what came from that visit that is going to be a game changer is the reciprocal visa elimination that was done, right? Because absolutely, that helps to move, to allow for movement of persons, ideas, goods, and services. So that's going to be an important thing to follow up on. At a practical level, maybe it's boring, but it's important for you to hear it. Usually what happens is we'll develop an implementation matrix to look at all of the various provisions of the MOU, the agreement, who's responsible for what are the timelines, deadlines for implementation. And then the MOU also includes a implementation mechanism or a follow-up mechanism. So there's a technical committee, which I think I chair. I think depends at what level they put it. Sometimes it's ministerial, sometimes it's PS level, and then I'm then responsible for co-chairing that meeting with my counterpart or the minister's counterpart, and really to look at the implementation framework. So some of the other provisions are things like we're going to share information on trade fairs, and we're going to encourage our private sector to collaborate more and more. And we're going to explore potential commercial arrangements. So then it gives you the inroads to now get into more detailed and specific agreements. In the past, we've wanted to collaborate with Botswana on our meat industry and our meat sector, learning from Botswana on that. We have plans to develop a meat processing sector here in Rwanda. So those are maybe practically what follows. On diamonds, I'm not exactly sure what was on the agenda, but usually when our president visits something, there's something he's cooking. So we trust that something will come from that, and the institutions involved will follow up on it. Again, if you don't follow up for us, then you're not so permanent after all.
All right, thank you. That was brilliantly done.
I just have a call to action, or a challenge.
Sure.
My name is Nadia. I'm Kenyan. I'm one of the people who also admires President Kagame's leadership, but I don't believe in democracy in Africa. Aside from that, we are here as fellows. I know this is such an ambitious ask, but when you go back, you can let President Kagame know that he has people who admire his leadership. And if we are lucky enough, we are here until such.
Yeah, he's taking notes.
If we can meet him, because closed mouths don't get fed. I know he's a very busy president, but I've been told he's also a very intentional president, and he meets absolutely anyone. And when he meets people who are young, ambitious, and believe in his leadership, he makes time for us.
Yes.
So that is my only ask on behalf of everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you keep it on purpose or
Transition of leadership.
Transition of plan. Continue the 2050. Because I don't think I
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, right, in terms of policy, right?
Yeah. To ensure the policy stays.
Yeah. Again, I think right now all we can do is build the right institutions and strong institutions and institutions that know what they want to achieve. But it's also difficult to prescribe something that will happen, in the future. All I can say is our institutions are strong. They know what they want to achieve. And we have this overarching vision 2050, right? So we all know where we're going. Now, you need to ensure that there is that stability and that continuity, right, to allow you to get there. What that looks like can be different, right? But obviously, I think, this is maybe getting into politics, but if you look at, the originators of that vision, those policy documents, it comes down to the party that is in power. And so, has that party built enough trust within the population that they will be voted in and then therefore help to continue that manifesto? So that's, I think, how we can see that going. If you look at Singapore, I think the party of Lee Kuan Yew has been there since the 60s up till today, right? So I think that's where you need to go, and to ensure continuity of leadership or ideas.
Can we all say?
Don't forget, I know he's diverted.
Yeah. So.
Thank you, Nadia.
Sorry,
We'd like to meet the president.
Yes. So I'll do my part to get it where it needs to get. But we also need to understand he is the head of state. And so, if nothing comes from this,
You'll come again.
I will come again.
Yeah.
Granted, he said I speak like him. So thank you very much.
Can we all say Murakoze?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.